Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, Dandavat Pranam. Welcome to Nityam Bhagavad Sevaya. Today we are very happy to have the association of Vanamali Govinda Prabhuji. He'll be sharing Bhagavata from 4th canto, 29th chapter, verses 52 and 53. The chapter is titled Talks Between Narada and King Prachina Parhi. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam, Prabhuji, am I audible?
Yes, nice. Audio is nice.
Hare Krishna. Welcome all the devotees, and we'll start with prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Dhiraye Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Ruttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namaha. Hare Krishna. So we are discussing from Srimad Bhagavatam.
Going on and off, like sometimes it's going off and then coming. You have logged in another device, maybe you want to, or you have any headphones?
The network is coming on and off?
Yeah. Yes, Prabhuji.
Oh, I see. Just give me 1 minute.
Okay.
Sri Bhagavathru, you can also allow me to share the screen.
Okay.
By making co-host or something.
The other device, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, you can do it now.
I have changed the network, Sri Bhagavat Prabhu. In case still there is on and off network problem, please let me know.
Oh, for now seems fine. Let's continue, Prabhu. If anyone else also has same problem, we'll let you know.
Yes, Prabhu. So we are discussing from the 4th canto, 29th chapter, shloka number 52. Narada uvacha prashna evam hi sanchino bhavata purusharshapha atra me vadato uhyam nishamya sunishchitam. Translation purport by His Divine Grace, Abhay Charanarvind Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The great saint Narada continued, O great personality, I have replied properly about all that you have asked me. Now hear another narration that is accepted by saintly persons and is very confidential. Purport: Sri Narad Muni is personally acting as the spiritual master of the king Barhisman. It was Narad Muni's intention that through his instructions, the king would immediately give up all engagement in fruitive activity and take to devotional service. However, although the king understood everything, he was still not prepared to give up his engagements. So this will be our main line of discussion, that how the living entity is so conditioned to fruitive engagements that even after being instructed, sometimes he is very becomes difficult for him or her to give up the fruitive engagements. As the following verses will show, the king was contemplating sending off for his sons who were away from home executing austerities and penances. After the return, he would entrust his kingdom to them and then leave home. This is the position of most people. They accept a bona fide spiritual master and listen to him. But when the spiritual master indicates that they should leave home and fully engage in devotional service, they hesitate. The duty of the spiritual master is to instruct the disciple as long as he does not come to the understanding that this materialistic way of life, fruitive activity, is not at all beneficial. Actually, one should take devotional service from the beginning of life. As Prahlad Maharaj advised, Kaumara acharet pragyo dharman bhagavatan iha. According to all the instructions of the Vedas, we can understand that unless one takes to Krishna consciousness and devotional service, he is simply wasting his time engaging in the fruitive activities of material existence. Narad Muni therefore decided to relate another allegory to the king so that he might be induced to give up family life within material existence. So we have another sloka also to be discussed. So we will read that purport also. 4.29.53. Shudram charam sumanasam sarane mithitva raktam sadangrigana samaso lubda karanam agre vrikanna sutrako vigana yayantam prishthe mrigam mrigaya lubda kabanna bhinnam. My dear king, please search out that deer who is engaged in eating grass in a very nice flower garden along with his wife. That deer is very much attached to his business and he is enjoying the sweet singing of bumblebees in his garden. Just try to understand his position. He is unaware that before him is a tiger, which is accustomed to living at the cost of another's flesh. Behind the deer is a hunter who is threatening to pierce him with sharp arrows. Thus, the deer's death is imminent. Purport. Here is an allegory in which the king is advised to find a deer that is always in a dangerous position. Although threatened from all sides, the deer simply eats grass in a nice flower garden, unaware of the danger. all around him. All living entities, especially human beings, think themselves very happy in the midst of families, as if living in a flower garden and hearing the sweet humming of bumblebees. Everyone is centered around his wife, who is the beauty of family life. The bumblebee's humming may be compared to the talk of children. The human being, just like the deer, enjoys his family without knowing that before him is the factor of time, which is represented by the tiger. The fruitive activities of a living entity simply create another dangerous position and oblige him to accept different types of bodies. For a deer to run after a mirage of water in the desert is not unusual. The deer is also very fond of sex. The conclusion is that one who lives like a deer will be killed in due course of time. Vedic literatures therefore advise that we should understand our constitutional position and take to devotional service before death comes. According to Bhagavatam, 11th canto, Labdhva sudurlabham idam bahu sambhavante manusyam arthadam anityam apiha dhiraha turnam yate tanapate anumrityu yavan nishreyasaya vishayah khalu sarvatah syat. After many births we have attained this human form. Therefore, before death comes, we should engage ourselves in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, that is the fulfillment of human life. Om Ajnanatimidandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam karoti vachalam pangum Hare Krishna. So I would like to seek the blessings of all my spiritual teachers from whom I have learned the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and all the Bhakti scriptures. And I would like to seek the blessings of all the assembled Vaishnavas online. All of them are very senior. So please bless that I can share something which is giving pleasure to all the Vaishnavas for the pleasure of the Lord and for my own purification. So in today's discussion, I have gathered some notes from the lecture on the same verse by His Holiness Bhakti Rasamrut Swami Maharaj and also His Grace Gaur Gopal Prabhu. And I would also like to share a PPT made by His Grace Radheshyam Prabhu on what can be the practical applications of fruitive activity, especially when it comes to living in a society, being grahastha, how we can take care that fruitive activities which we might have to kind of involve should not cover our pure devotional service. So with this, we would like to try to discuss about these two verses which we just now recited. So we can see that how Narad Muni, who is such an expert preacher, he has been dealing with various kind of disciples and preaching them according to time, place, and circumstances, according to how they will get the best benefit. So he's the best preacher, understanding the nature of the disciple, and according to the best, he is preaching them to their best needs. So he has already given the analogy of the city of 9 gates, and now he is observing King Prachini Barhi that he has not still developed the renunciation which is required for his ultimate perfection, and that is why he is now all set to give him another analogy. So we can see that how our movement is a pushing movement. Srila Prabhupada used to say that I am pushing you and you can push others. But yes, here Narad Muni is not directly criticizing or belittling the disciple, but he's saying with good examples and trying to inspire the disciple. And in that way, pushing the disciple further for the perfection. So we can learn many lessons from Sri Narad Muni on how we can also preach. So in our today's discussion, we'll focus on how we can make sure that we are not getting trapped in our fruitive activities while doing our devotional service, and maintaining the proper mood of pure devotion. And what are those measures which we can take practically, which can really help out to remain out of the fruitive nature, which can be a trap for a sadhaka. So here we see that even after getting instruction, the disciple is not ready for detachment, which is Prabhupada telling as the most common condition of a people or of a sadhaka. That yeah, so it happens many a times that after getting many instructions, still a disciple may be getting stuck into the fruitive activity. So it is said in the scriptures that a prolonged period of hearing and chanting is very much essential, as we see in the Madhva Sampradaya also, that how the pujaris, they sit from morning 3:30 to 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock doing elaborate worships. So even Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, when he about to start his preaching activity, he had devoted almost 9 years in chanting lakhs of holy names. So he prepared himself before he launched himself in the battle of preaching and encountering Maya. So Srila Prabhupada also prepared by writing Srimad Bhagavatam, took the blessings of Goswamis before going abroad. So in this way, a sadhaka needs to understand that unless the devotional tree doesn't have a very strong root in the form of Nama Ruchi and Vaishnava Seva further, the Jiva Daya will not happen effectively, and the tree will crumble down because of its weak roots. So we should be very much careful and not get engrossed in the fruitive activity while performing our devotional service. And the role of Guru is also very important. As we see from Narad Muni's perspective, he is patient, he is not becoming angry. So a counselor or a leader, a guide should be very patiently ready to discuss and solve the problems of the follower without becoming angry. That is the duty of a guide. So His Holiness Bhakti Rasamrit Maharaj was mentioning that even after long periods of hearing, why this renunciation from fruitive activity doesn't develop. So I was hearing once lecture wherein a question was asked to a sannyasi when he had finished the pastime of Avanti Brahmana, which comes in the 11th canto, that how he developed renunciation after losing everything materially. So he gave a very nice class, and then the question said that Maharaj, we see that here Avanti Brahmana has lost many things in his life, materially speaking, and this has induced a renunciation from fruitive activities which he was performing. But however, this is not a common scenario in practical life. We see that there are many rich devotees, and it is so to say, not, we assume that we are not suddenly going to lose our property and one day we will not develop sudden renunciation. So how is that? And he was further mentioning, he is the devotee who was asking question is a financial counselor of devotees also, apart from the non-devotees. So he used to help the devotees that how you can secure your future financially by particular savings, and then prepare yourself full-fledgedly to dive in the deep devotional services, and spending your entire time, especially out of 45, 50. So the devotee was asking, I do counsel, but even after counseling, they don't become serious in bhakti. They remain attached to earning and family activities very, very strongly, in spite of me giving them full assurance that now they don't have to worry financially. So hearing this question, the sannyasi answered that yes, becoming rich is not a problem. It is not at all an obstacle in devotional service. However, to be attached and depend on that money, that thinking that that will save me at a time of test, that is a wrong understanding. So one should learn from Srimad Bhagavatam and such pastimes like Avanti Brahmana or King Prachini Barishat being discussed by Narad Muni, that one should not be dependent on these assets. He should be dependent on the holy name and Gurudev, bona fide spiritual master, to get himself out of the clutches of this fruitive activity. He may have riches, he may be earning good, but the dependency should not come. Unless, and then he made a very stunning statement and very striking for me, that if one does not learn by hearing, especially the pastimes of Srimad Bhagavatam, most probably he will also not learn by experience. Because it is said, those who don't learn once by hearing, they have to go undergo the experience, and then they will be thwarted, and Maya Devi will kick, and then they will learn. But here he tells that most probably even after getting experiences, because he is not learning by hearing, the experience is coming by hearing, at least. Even in Devki and Kapil Dev Samvad in Bhagavatam also, it comes, Prabhupada writes, that hearing is a better experience than going through that experience. So there is a all chance that if we don't take the message seriously, then we may end up not learning. And that is why there are a concept of three dolls. Three dolls which are having same size, same color, but different prices. One is 10 rupees, another is 100 rupees, and third one is 1000 rupees. So why there is a difference in price in spite of same size and color and material? Because the shopkeeper told the 10 rupee doll, if you just put one thread or a wire from one ear, it will come out from another ear. That's only internal mechanism. But the second doll, which is more costlier, 100 rupees, the wire goes from inside one ear and it comes out from the mouth. So at least this person is, whatever is hearing, he is able to share. But the 1000 rupee doll, which is the most costliest, the wire doesn't come out of the mouth directly. It goes inside the heart. There is churning, there is realization, and then there is being speaking out. So like this, the person who hears and digests, then he will be able to actually get the realization. Our sadhana does not get completed just by hearing or reading. That is only 25%. The next 75% is very, very important, which includes the contemplation. Whatever we have heard and read, we have to contemplate, and then we have to share It is called as Shravanam, Mananam, and Nididhyasanam. And then when we share, then there is a much more deeper understanding and our application becomes strong. And not only sharing and contemplating, but practically application. That completes the 100% sadhana, which can give a result, fruit of realization. And that is our asset. So that completes our sadhana. So we just don't have to, and there are many YouTube lectures available. So much opportunities there for hearing, but we need to also focus on a good amount of contemplation, sharing, and application. So even Srila Prabhupada was being asked by blessings by some Indian family. The husband was very persistent that please give me blessings. But Prabhupada, once being so much asked, he ultimately told, yes, you can become like my disciples who are sitting shaven-headed. So the requirement of blessings are there from a sadhaka, but when the actual blessing has been given, which is not actually the fruitive result which we may be expecting, then that is the correct mood in which the disciple should be endeavoring for the blessings of the spiritual master and the parampara, not the way he wants. And that is why Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj was very angry on a person who was persistent to get him at his house to give him shelter, because Gaur Kishore Das Babaji was very famous. But Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj told, if you really want my blessings, if you really want some instructions, or you want some result from serving me, then you please sit and chant here. And when Babaji forced him, he immediately ran away. So what is the understanding of a sadhaka from a devotional service and result? That should be very clear. It is not necessary that things will go in our way, materially things will become nice. The blessings can come on another way, but what will remain as a mercy is our inclination to perform pure devotional service, and that will remain 100%. The consciousness will remain pakka. That is the mercy which we can get and we can expect. So coming to the understanding that how the preacher should be inspiring spiritually, as he's here Narad Muni is making nice plans to inspire King Prachini Barhishat, who is himself very much engrossed in the fruitive activity. He was so much engrossed that one after another, he used to finish one fruitive activity and go to another one. So in our bhakti, if we really want to get out of this fruitive activity, I have heard two solutions very strongly which can apply. Is the credit taking mentality is very strong in a jiva. He does a service and he wants to be recognized. Unless he's not recognized, he feels little empty. So yes, initially we can do this for a newcomer, but after spending a good amount of time in bhakti, 5, 10, 15 years, then this credit taking mentality should be diminished, if not 100% removed at least. Yes, we all are sadhakas and the conditioned souls, and to some extent will require recognition, but it should be on a slowly decreasing mode as we progress. So what to do for this? It is said that menial service attitude. The menial service attitude is so very important. Some services which nobody is able to see, only you and Paramatma can be able to observe that. So when we do a service which is in the limelight, the tendency is there that the motivation for service is coming because people are observing it and we are being recognized. But if we take up some service, let us say after the Sunday feast or after the festival, when everything is over, everybody has gone back home, and there is cleaning required on the first floor, etc., where nobody is present, and we just do the service, or in the DT backup room, or in the kitchen where nobody is observing. And if this menial service attitude is being increased or enhanced, then the fruitive nature will go away. Because the problem is in chanting or in our sadhana, we don't see the fruit. But in preaching, we see, oh, I made this devotee. So there is a fruit which is seen in front of our eye, which pacifies our fruitive tendency. But in chanting or in reading book or apparently we don't see a fruit. So that is how our chanting or our sadhana may suffer because of strong fruitive mentality. And that is why this saying which His Holiness Bhakti Rasamrit Maharaj quite often has recited, he has learned it from some English speaker from the West, but he tells it is very important for us in our devotional service. He says, he quotes this, that there is no limit to the extent one can do wonderful activities. There is no limit if it does not matter who takes the credit. So as we are all working in a team as devotees, so who will do which service and who will take the credit? If this is not a criterion, then there is a very nice scope that the team can do very, very great achievements. So this was one thing I wanted to share about the fruitive activity and how to come out of it. And now would like to share a PPT which is made by His Grace Radheshyam Prabhu. I hope it is visible to everybody. I'll try to enlarge it.
It's good, Prabhu. If you want to go in presentation also, you can go, but this is visible.
Yeah. So the question here comes that while living in the society and taking part in social functions and religious rituals, can it be detrimental to our pure devotional service? So the answer is the slide moving ahead? Sri Bhagavata?
No, we still see that question is living in society and taking part.
Okay, I will stop sharing it.
It's not in the slideshow mode, it's in the edit mode. So
maybe because of now it's going ahead.
Yeah, now we can see the other slide 70. Yes.
So yeah, the question is is living in society and taking part in social functions and religious rituals detrimental to our pure devotional service? The answer is living in the greater society also makes participation in social functions and religious rituals inevitable. So it becomes very much a part of our life. So I felt this was very relevant for the Grihastha devotees. So I thought we can share. So Prabhu is telling that such fruitive activities can be performed provided it is in small measure, not too much, and in the mood of detached service do not cover one's pure devotion. It should not be too much attachment that, oh, I have to do this. It should be in a detached spirit. Devotees who purposefully indulge in such things and place faith in them muddy the pristine waters of Uttama Bhakti. So if we purposefully indulge, not understanding the risks, then we may be in troubles. So what are the examples of fruitive work which may not harm our pure devotional service? So here is a wonderful example of Jagannath Mishra passing away and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu doing the final ritualistic ceremonies at Gaya. So devotees to avoid attending such rites or common men might unnecessarily criticize Vaishnavas. It may commit offenses and obstruct their own spiritual progress. Even Srila Prabhupada, while opening of Krishna Balram temple, he did invited the Brahmanas, ritualistic Brahmanas, to perform the ceremonies because they will not accept the foreign Brahmanas to do that, the Vrindavan Brajavasis. So Prabhupada considered okay, but at the background he had the Hare Krishna mantra going on. Similarly, the Vedic astrology or Jyotisha provides another example. Astrology offers nothing more than a detailed description of the workings of the modes of nature. So if the Vedic astrology, which follows the authoritative books, is useful for common men trying to understand how to organize their lives in accordance with the results of their past activities. But if devotees may also consult an astrologer to get an indication of how their past influences their future. They do this to prepare themselves to deal with the potential karmic reactions and perhaps try to minimize them while maximizing their service to Krishna. So obviously there are many do's and don'ts in this. The astrologer should be very qualified and the mood in which the devotees is doing. So it's a very thin line which we need to see. But if done in such a mood to make our devotional service enhanced, it is considered not wrong. So it requires a guidance of very good and advanced devotees. Okay, so yeah, this is one shloka which has been quoted. So another question, when does such fruity work like Homa or Jyotisha can cover our pure devotional service? So here is a warning. The answer lies in the motive behind the action. To the extent that it is done out of excessive attachment rather than detached duty, devotion is proportionately lost. So what are the two main things which here is being mentioned? Excessive attachment is illustrated by two mindsets. If I don't do this, I will incur sin. If I do this, my devotional life will improve. Both this mentality are wrong mentality while performing a fruitive activity. So what is this first point? The first point tells that it betrays a lack of faith in the foundation of devotion, that the conviction that Krishna will be the true to his promise, Sarva dharmam parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshishyami ma sucha. So our lack of faith in this shloka will make us feel that no, I should do this particular, otherwise there will be sin. So this kind of mentality is not good. You should do it as a duty without having such mentality that if I don't do it, will be sin. So for devotees, there is a separate instruction for doing Shraddha, etc. It is not in the same way how the non-devotees do. And on the second point, that if I do this, my devotional life will improve. So I should do more and more. This is also wrong. The second disclose is a misunderstanding of a basic Krishna conscious teaching, which states that fruitive work can neither nurture nor give rise to pure devotion. So fruitive activity is like a pious activity, which has no connection with pure devotional service. Only thing is, it is done in a detached spirit to be answerable to the society in general or relatives in general. And if it has some very much practical application, somebody is really going through a bad phase and some astrological planets are affecting or he has to take up a new project or he has to go abroad, shift his job location, then he might have to consult his spiritual master, and with his guidance he can do the particular activity, not too much dependent on it in either ways, negative or positive way. So I hope it is clear. We'll take doubts or some clarifications at the end. Some more clarifications. In the case of Pinda, devotion becomes covered when devotees feel that they will incur sin if they do not attend a relative's funeral, or that their devotion will prosper if they do. I have heard whenever some devotees near and dear relative has passed away, and as it is said that we should not go to temple or for 13 days or 10 days or so, but His Grace Narhari Chaitanya Prabhu had advised that if you feel okay and if you are fine to do any service, then you did not wait for those 13 days to complete, but you can directly start the service, because it all depends on our mindset. If our mindset is very, very focused that pure devotional service is the most purifying thing, it may help our relative also who has passed away and ourselves also. Generally, it is said that the mood is not good when somebody passes away. So with that mood, we should not offer service to the Lord, because it will not give the best of the service, and that is why it is being advised to avoid. But if we are okay, we think that after all the soul journeys to another place, and this is a part of the journey of a conditioned soul, and we are not so much disturbed from our devotional aspects, then we can continue our services. So this is what I understood. In the example of Homa, devotion is covered when devotees become too absorbed in performing fire sacrifices, thinking that devotional practices or events like the opening of a temple or a deity installation are incomplete without the Homa. It can be done, but only as an adjuvant, as a ritual which is being majorly supported by the holy name. That is the best sacrifice which can be done. But it is not avoided or it's not banned. One can do this. And many ISKCON temples, they do Narsimha Yagya or when the temple opening is there. And in the example of astrology, devotees are covered when they have more faith in the power of destiny foretold by a Jyotisha than in the power of devotion or Krishna's mercy. So this can be some practical tips for us. And what can be the pitfalls and how can we safeguard ourselves? Yeah. Second point, because devotees are strengthened by constant engagement in devotional service in pure company, they can keep such obstacles far away, getting carried away in fruitive activities. And if neophyte devotees do not carefully chant Hare Krishna, hear Srimad Bhagavatam, visit the Lord's temple, and faithfully worship the deity, they will be distracted by fruitive conditioning. When devotees identify fruitive activities or the cultivation of knowledge with devotion, their pure devotion degrades to Aropa Siddha Bhakti or Sangha Siddha Bhakti. This semblance of devotion can neither attract Krishna nor give one of love for him. Basically, these points have been taken from the book Shuddha Bhakti Chintamani by His Holiness Shivaram Swami Maharaj. From there, Prabhuji has taken these points. And further points on how to safeguard: do not neglect to chant and hear activities that form the heart of the pure devotion. Just because now you have started some preaching and you have become very busy for some major project, you should never neglect our basic morning program. If this is compromised, then slowly our inattentive chanting, it is the root. It is said that inattentive chanting is the mother of all the 10 offenses. So it is said that if we chant inattentively, it is sufficient to fulfill all our material desires, which is very deadly for our spiritual progress. So we have to be very careful. Another quotation which Prabhuji mentions from Srimad Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, 19th chapter, shloka number 159 and 160, which tells about how the upashakhas which come while Bhakti Lata also is growing. Upashakhas are something which are very, very difficult to identify because they are also green in color. And if not identified initially, what are those upashakhas? Fruitive tendencies, hankering for name and fame, kutinati, doing duplicitous behavior. All this can be done in the name of pure devotion. And these are upashakhas. They are weeds which grow along with the Bhakti Lata. And if they are not cut immediately when they are very, very small, then after they grow stout, it will be very difficult to cut them. That is what Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami quotes. And Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj has given a list of all these fruitive natures, the upashakhas which can come in a sadhaka's life. So we should be cutting them. But to cut them, we need to identify, because we don't know which are upashakha, what is Bhakti Lata, because so many upashakhas has grown. We don't know. So that is why we need help of a very, very senior devotee. Always reporting to them of our activities, always taking their active guidance time and again, so that all our upashakhas will be cut and we will have only a scope for nurturing our pure devotional activities. That is the Bhakti Lata. So that was about the Jnana Karma or the Anyabhilashita, which can come along with our practice of devotional service. Yeah. Even though advanced devotees are not obliged to follow the regulations, but we see Prabhupada mentions even they, to set example and to teach others, should continue doing their rules and regulations, not avoiding that. Liberated souls should also follow in order to teach others, and neophytes must follow and save themselves from deviation. Yeah. How to safeguard further? An example of such deviation occurs when devotees turn preaching into a fruitive activity by making the temple a commercial enterprise, or Prabhupada often complained about priests in India for whom worshipping famous deities was merely a means to maintain their families and collect dowries for their daughters. And often Srila Prabhupada reacted to temple devotees being unnecessarily engaged in the sales of mundane paraphernalia. So these are the cautions given by Srila Prabhupada to devotees. We cannot overstate the importance of regulated devotional activity. Devotees who live inside or outside the temples, they must have strong sadhana. We generally accept the standard for temple residents. Oh, strong sadhana is only for temple residents. No, but here it is said it is also very, very important for any initiated devotee who is living outside the temple. So this misunderstanding should not be there. No devotee in the conditioned state can remain aloof from Maya simply by desiring to do so. The desire and the ability to be free of material conditioning must be fortified by strict cultivation of bhakti. Otherwise, misconceptions will steer even well-meaning devotees off the path of purity and very likely off the path of devotion service altogether. So in this regard, Srila Prabhupada writes, everyone must rise early, take bath, attend Mangalarti, chant at least 16 good rounds, attend class and follow the 4 regulative principles strictly. If these things are lax, then there is no question of spiritual life. Anyone who does not accept these things staunchly will have to fall down. So strongly we have to follow without any compromise. So this was about that. And regarding the last verse, I thought I will just share one more story which comes. I have heard it from one sannyasi, which Prabhupada is mentioning, or Narad Muni is giving the analogy of the deer to enhance and little bit push King Prachini Barhi from his fruitive activities. That the tiger is in front of you and the hunter is behind. So your death is imminent. The one who is into these fruitive activities. So I think some of you might have heard this, but anyways, I will try to repeat, which is so very instructive, that a person who is searching for water is running in the forest, and he's being chased by a tiger, and somehow he falls into the ditch in a well, wherein he hangs on to the root which is coming out of the wall of the well. So the tiger is waiting above the well to eat this person, and below there is a big python. This python will swallow in case he falls down. And to make the situation worse, there are bumblebees, or not bumblebees, but the honeybees, which have been disrupted of the honeycomb, the root on which he fell down, which are biting him from all the sides. And at last, he saw that the black and the white rat, they are eating away the branch on which he was hanging. So this was the precarious condition, appears to be very imaginative, not coming for us. But then there was a drop of honey which was falling on his lips directly while he was in such a situation. And he was busy enjoying the taste of honey, not worrying that within seconds he may die. So although it appears to be very, very figurative and analogy or allegorical story, but somewhat, if we see carefully, our life is also on a similar position. We may think we may live for another 20, 30, 40 years, but we never know when our life will end. Srila Prabhupada tells in one of the lecture that Parikshit Maharaj had 7 days, but we live as if we have 7,000 years. Whereas we should live only as if we have only 7 seconds. The intensity with which we should do bhakti. So this story helps us to enhance the urgency with which we need to take devotional service and not make it lax. So in the association of very good and advanced souls, time and again hearing from them, serving them will push us, because they themselves are in the urgent mode. They are trying to preach and take the burden of Srila Prabhupada's movement. So in assisting them, we may not be able to do sitting in temple or sitting at home on our own, not be able to inspire. But when we take up to serve them who are very much active, so then we will also get the same urgency. And the similar story comes in Chaitanya Charitamrita, when Narad Muni is preaching Kailash, who is time and again postponing his visit to Vaikuntha with Narad Muni. Narad Muni is coming and inviting, come Narada, I will take you to Vaikuntha. Come Kailash. But Kailash is busy, that let me get a job, let me get married, let me take care of my children, let me take care of my grandchildren who are not very responsible, who are not taking care of accounts and the office which is created, the factory. And finally, Kailash becomes a dog in his same home in the next life. And when again Narad Muni comes, he is busy guarding the home and the factory and the assets. Finally, Narad Muni decides to give him a lesson and tells the same sons to beat up, because now he's in a form of a snake guarding the agricultural field. So the same sons who are the grandsons of the Kailash come and beat this snake, and that is the time Kailash realizes his very fallen nature and decides to go with Narad Muni to Vaikuntha. So these are some pastimes or the stories which are being said in the scriptures to enhance our urgency and not postpone getting engaged in the devotional service. So in essence, we discussed today what are the aspects of fruitive activities, as we saw that after hearing many times, also we may end up doing fruitive activity as a sadhaka. So hearing for a prolonged time should make sure that we take the lessons, apply it, contemplate, share on that, and try to get some good result of application, of progressing in bhakti, not just hearing from one ear and removing, but actually taking it very seriously. How we discussed that the four aspects of sadhana is not only hearing and reading, but sharing, contemplation, and application, which can give us realization. And then we saw how fruitive activities, which needs to be very carefully performed in case we have to, in what spirit it is to be done, so that it doesn't hamper our pure devotional approach to any activity. And finally, we heard the two stories of Kailash and the man who fell down in the well. So the summary is attempts to be made to get out of fruitive nature, fruitive activities, and not getting into stuck, remaining in pure devotional approach. And we also discussed about menial service attitude and the sentence by His Holiness Bhakti Rasamrit Maharaj, that if it doesn't matter who takes the credit, then there is no limit to the wonderful things which can do. Thank you very much. I hope it was helpful. If there are any mistakes, please feel free to correct, or you can share something additionally. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Guruji, for wonderfully explaining with various examples on the two key points from these two verses. One is about the fruitive activities, getting entangled in the fruitive activities. The second is about how we are unaware of the dangers of the material world that are awaiting upon each of us. Thank you. Devotees can unmute themselves to share reflections, or if they have questions, please ask.
Hare Krishna, Vanamali Prabhu, Dandat Pranam. Thank you very much for very nice and insightful presentation, Prabhuji. I have one question. I think you said it's very important, not only to just listen to classes, but also it's very important to reflect, contemplate, and share. Can you explain this little bit, Prabhuji, with an example how this could be done among us?
Yeah, I heard this from His Holiness Chandramauli Swami Maharaj in one of his articles in the ISKCON Desire Tree, that it is seen that generally it is all depending on our attitude. If our attitude is information seeking while hearing a class, some new points, which is technically called as nectar hunting or nectar collection. Oh, I did not hear a very good point today, or I did not hear a new point today. So this attitude makes us vulnerable to not gain what the speaker has to share with us, the realization with the conviction in which he is sharing. It may not be a new point, it may be the same old pastime, but with the way which he brings out the lessons and the conviction in which he shares, or the devotion with which he shares. So these are very important things. And it is said that a faint pencil is better than a sharp memory. Often we, some of them have no good habit of writing notes, because we don't write notes, we forget immediately. Even I also forget if I don't write notes. So in our youth preaching, we always emphasize to devotees on taking notes, so that even if we forget, tomorrow we can go through and recollect it. And I had heard from one of the devotees that we should keep hearing a lecture till the number of times we have not applied all the aspects, all the lines in our practical life. So to that degree, we should hear the lecture. Oh, I am still not following this. I'm still lacking in this. So this will help us develop our contemplation and sharing. That Prabhu, and whenever we are sitting idle, instead of talking something else, we can try to discuss what we have shared in our lecture, and that will make us understand how the other person has also seen from a different angle, and it can enhance and deeper our understanding. So Prabhupada always told, please read my books, not read, please study my books. It is not reading, it is studying. So studying from different angles, because it has lot of ways to look at and apply. So when we discuss, we'll get some more insights and we'll be inspired to follow that. Oh, how nicely this devotee has grasped and understood and applied. So when we associate with such devotees who are very, very nicely trying to apply, then we will also get the same feeling and inspiration to do the same. I hope that helps, Sankarshan.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you. Essentially, contemplation is reviewing again what we listen to and see how we can apply this in practice.
How the speaker told and how am I able to apply? Because there is a very big gap even in my speaking and my application. I may be speaking very nicely, but even my contemplation and sharing will be very less. So tomorrow I should go back and see, I gave a lecture or I shared some things, but how much am I doing it? Or I heard this and what is my gap? So this gap has to be reduced as we do more and more bhakti and spend more and more amount of time. And the more we reduce the gap, the more it will be helping us in realization.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Thank you, Sankarshan. Sankarshan Priya Prabhu is very wonderful sadhaka by himself, but he is setting example by asking a question.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. Very nice story about the 3 dolls. It's a very wonderful. Prabhu, that Chaitanya Charitamrita, that what is the reference, Prabhu? Madhya Leela?
19th chapter, shloka number 159 and 160.
Okay, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Dandavat Pranam. Prasanatha Prabhu.
Namaste to you, Prabhu. Prabhu, very nice, very thought-provoking, wonderful points came out. So thank you so much. Prabhu, just one thought, one question just I had. See, in fact, we were discussing about the things which are detrimental to PDS, to pure devotional service. So where we saw some examples of Shrad and all those things. So now you also mentioned very clearly, one of the bullet points said that we should not, we should not use that as an excuse. So now we saw these and then we knew that even there is a separate way in which a Vaishnava or a practicing Vaishnava is supposed to do. So he need not necessarily do the things that is connected to the family to which he is, he is born in or whatever. So now that should not be an excuse. So what should be the actual mood when we are doing this? So sometimes we might end up doing it. So this act of carrying out whatever the shad or the activity that we are doing, that's going to be.
Yes, Prabhu.
No, I was asking if what should be the actual mood. I mean, it should neither be a desire to do it, nor should it be a desire not to do it, somewhere in between. So if you could just elaborate a little bit, that might help.
Yes. I have whatever little experience and whatever I heard from my teachers. His Grace Radhesham Prabhu tells, whenever we do such a house opening ceremony or Shraddha ceremony or a house warming ceremony or in Vastu Shastra, such kind of rituals which are expected, we should call a devotee as far as possible, and lot of hearing should be done. Like I see in temple, His Grace Narahari Chaitanya Prabhu calls Anandamayi Prabhu, and he's a very strong philosopher, and he roots out the, he puts his emphasis on chanting morning. So we should call such devotees who are very much in the Gaudiya Vaishnava Siddhanta, and he elaborates and emphasizes on pure devotional aspects in his lecture during the program, and lot of kirtan should be there at the background going on whenever it is permitted, so that the whole atmosphere remains Krishna conscious, and the relatives who come, who are non-devotees, they are our family members, distant family members who are not much knowing about ISKCON, they will also get the benefit of hearing the philosophy. So in this way, it becomes a preaching program. Although in the name of Vastu Shastra, but we are conducting as another Bhakti Viksha program only. So that becomes a reason for us to do our preaching. So it can be in this attitude. This is what one thing I have heard from Prabhu. Secondly, yes, we might, as we know that my family members, my parents are also devotees. So they keep doing these activities whenever they have to do. But once once I saw that, let us take Rajshambhu's example. When his mother and father had passed away, so he had called a Vaishnava Brahmana who was reciting for the 13 days, whatever the procedure had to be done, and he was carefully trying to stop the Brahmana and tell the meaning of each shloka which he is reciting. Although Hare Krishna Mahamantra was going morning and evening, for the benefit of everybody, but even the Brahmana, he was trying to understand, because he was chanting from Padma Purana or Garuda Purana. So although these are Vedic scriptures, may not be directly meant for devotees and bhakti, but still he was making an endeavor so that he understands that how this can be connected to pure devotional service. And he was not just going through the process mechanically. So these two aspects, I feel it relates to your question, that in what mood we can do. And in case there may be some technicalities which even I may not be aware of, we can take help of some senior devotees. But yes, in Srila Prabhupada's purport, I have seen that Shraddha is not done in the same way for devotees as compared to non-devotees. Very few devotees should be called, and we should see that Vaishnavas who are invited are not displeased. If possible, only very few should be called for that Shraddha day. So such some information is also given in Prabhupada's books, which can be taken help of, and there may be some more quotations in case somebody knows, can also share. I may not be aware of, so that it can add to what Prabhuji is asking. Does it answer, Prabhu? Prasanna Prabhu?
Prabhu, definitely. I think those are very good points. So thank you for sharing that. It completely changes. See, sometimes we get perplexed whether we should or we should not engage, but then turning it into a KC kind of an program, or Krishnizing the whole thing. That's what I've heard Prabhupada also say many times. So that will definitely make this whole thing spiritual, rather than just making it remain at a material level, an activity which I have to
also heard
complete.
2 points which Prabhuji mentioned in the PPT, that we should not feel that if I don't do this, then I'm going to incur a sin, because our major sins are being taken care of when we have surrendered to Guru's instructions. So in case in an event we might not be able to do it, or in the best way it has to be done, we should not feel lacking or deficiency in the heart. And on the other way, we should not take it as a thing that, oh, it will enhance my devotional service if I do so. So those 2 points also, I felt it is very, very relevant for what you discussed.
Absolutely, Prabhu. I agree. So it's like a thin line, like neither here nor there, but then doing it with Krishna in the mind. So wonderful points came out. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Thank you, Guruji. Hare Krishna. So time is 9:04. Should we end?
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, we can conclude with Vaishnava Pranams.
Thank you, all the devotees. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo.
Anant Koti Vaishnava Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for your time in helping us understand these slokas much better. We'll continue to do the Nididhyasa as you mentioned. So we'll meet again tomorrow.